All right, welcome to Black Angus Reviews. This is Utter Chaos, episode 18. The Utter Chaos series is now legal age. You can sign up for the draft and whatnot. Welcome. We have the Real Review 3000 and Sean Stackhouse. I'll edit that momentarily. What's up, guys?
What's going on? I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
It's excellent to finally be doing this. We've talked about it for a little bit, so I'm really excited.
Yeah. No, it's not a problem. Okay, I thought there was going to be more for you, but all right.
Oh yes. The Earth is flat. We never went to the moon, and I am a demigod.
And everything he just said is not true. I have a giant ego, and I am a god, not the god. just to put that out there.
Awesome. Yeah, we've talked before. Of course, I don't know. I met Sean exactly. I'm not sure if you came in before or like at the same time, but I remember Chris specifically because
everybody remembers me.
Yeah, we were tasked like, hey, I'm going to have this Last Jedi liker on my show.
Yep.
Mary Mayhem, and I was like, oh,
oh, really?
and
Is
so
this what we've gone
late.
to?
I was late, but I came in during the part where it's like, yeah, tell them off, just let them have it for drinking soy and.
I can tell you, Angus. I can tell you for a fact, and Chris will deny this, but he still worships at the altar of Rian Johnson.
See, okay, I'm gonna tell you, Angus. I'm gonna tell you exactly how this works. Everything he says is actually what he does, not me. See, and
no.
And he's trying to divert.
At the altar
he is trying to divert attention away from him by pushing it on me. And you see, my ego, myself, and I am my ego, and its ego are strong enough to take the bullshit from him. So
Chris has an entire DVD rack devoted to multiple copies of The Last Jedi.
Actually, I don't even own it on DVD.
No, you're such a lie.
I'm not lying. It is the one. Actually, no, I don't own either of the two new ones. I don't even own Solo. I don't own Rogue One. I don't own any of those.
Yeah, I got Rogue One, and I got the Steelbook. I used to work at a DVD store, so I found a copy of Steelbook of Force Awakens, which is a pretty cool cover. It's got Kylo and Phasma.
Yeah, I would buy the Force Awakens. I would I'd get Solo because I'm not a horrible hater of Solo. There's some cringeworthy parts there. There's some real cringy parts.
I made it an hour into Solo, and I had to shut it off.
No, that's your problem, not mine.
No, it's the film's problem.
Yeah, but Rogue One is, of all of them, the absolute best because it makes me want to see a Darth Vader movie.
Yes,
that last bit, I was like, oh my god! And the way they did Grand Moff Tarkin, I was blown away by Rogue One. And
yeah, I don't get why people complain. They're like, "Oh, the Tarkin looks so bad." It's like, what? I mean, I could see.
I went back
about Leia, but Tarkin was spot on.
Leia was definitely the worst part of that, and I think I heard that was because they added her in like last second. And then the Grand Moff Tarkin, I went back and watched, A New Hope. Soon after watching that, because I read about that. Oh, it looks so bad. I watched him. I said, no, he kind of looks like that when he talks.
Yeah,
it's not perfect, but it's for what it was, and as much as he was on screen in that movie, that's what amazed me. So yeah,
the only problem,
I don't know any of those.
The only problem with Rogue One and Tarkin is I don't get enough gay. And I think that's the big. I think
he's not holding Vader's leash tight enough yet.
yeah, but I mean, in The Last Jedi, we get enough gay from what's the redhead dude's name?
Hux.
Yeah.
You threw me off. I was thinking, like, wait, is there another gay character from the Resistance?
He's the redheaded stepchild of No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to joke. It's like, it doesn't really make sense to have a bunch of gays in a group called the Resistance, There's not much resistance there, if you get my drift.
Exactly.
It's not really resistance. It's more like friction.
Oh, man. Yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, it's funny. I saw someone share. They were like making fun of some, Ryan Johnson lover, with that scene of the Holdo maneuver, just nuking the whole fleet, and it is a pretty shot, but it's like. Yeah, this is an anime shot. This isn't Star Wars. It doesn't make sense that you would splinter across all this, or you got them lined up perfectly to take them all out. There's a new Sith trooper that's been released. Have you seen this image?
I have not
No.
seen the image yet. I just saw it come across my news feed, though.
Yeah,
and I was
just
going to
type on
go.
Twitter. My computer's really slow, so I'm not going to waste y'all's time waiting. But
It's
just type
called
in
the Sith Trooper, right?
Yeah, Sith Trooper. Look it up on Twitter. You'll see images. This is from the poster. I'm not sure about y'all specifically, you and Chris and Sean, but I did a video when the poster got released. Only me and EVS were like, yeah, this poster is real. People are like, Mark Hamill said it's not real. And I'm like, yeah. Mark Hamill didn't know he fucking died in Last Jedi till it came out. So what does he know?
Wow.
And yeah, I was right. Everything is real. There's pictures of JJ looking at that weirdo slug with like the Men in Black like tentacle head thing. Like everything on that thing is real. What I'm hoping, of course, the trooper is real. There was a second picture of just the helmet, and I'm like, yeah, that's real.
He's
so
the
they're
dude
mixing,
in red, right?
Yeah, they're mixing the Emperor's guard and stormtroopers then.
Well, this kind of goes along with that leaked poster for 9 that came out that had a bunch of red stormtroopers
At the bottom. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm slow.
No, I just the main thing from that poster that I took away is like you got Poe Dameron in an ascot. That really, I think, directs.
He's playing Fred from the Mystery Gang.
So you got him in that, and everyone wants Poe and Finn, but I really think Rose Tico is going to get replaced by this weirdo alien, and it's like they're going to mix Moonlight, which won an Oscar about a gay black man, and Shape of Water, which is about a woman fucking a creature. So now you're going to have the next Oscar winner is going to be this very deep, sensual, gay bestiality movie of Finn and this weirdo creature with no legs.
Oh dear God!
That's what I'm banking on.
Oh,
I can't wait. I can't wait till all the Rose Tico Finn shippers are disappointed because Finn got down. He boogied on down.
Can we just revoke everybody's shipping license already, please? I first heard of shipping. I'm like, what the hell? Shipping like what? Like FedEx? What the hell? And then I read into it. I'm like,
yeah, me too. I was like,
you've got to be kidding me.
I was like, what are they? They're going to be shipping things from like different parts of the galaxy, and they're like, no, it's relationship. What? No? What?
Yeah. And then it was just what the? Oh my God! Yeah, shipping licenses are. I'm posting an egotistical order stating that all shipping licenses are hereby revoked until I say otherwise, which will never happen. So it's done. No more shipping.
More to that, I think in all Disney movies, the Sith. Well, I guess there aren't any Sith technically, but
There's Sith troopers now, though.
Well, okay. Well, the First Order and all Jedi, they need to be celibate. No relationships, no ships. In fact, let's sterilize them all.
As my second in command with less ego than me, I go ahead and say that that's okay to do too.
Actually, let's just go ahead and sterilize Mickey while we're at it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, rats spawn quite a bit. That's why you say that. So I was gonna get y'all's take. Did y'all see the fight?
Oh yeah.
And what'd you think of it?
With the family?
Yeah.
This is typical.
Oh, the one in Disneyland or Disney World?
That's just typical.
Yeah, and they said it didn't happen, and then the video came out. And
yeah.
I saw the Lonely Banter's video about it earlier today. It was hilarious.
You get a bunch of people in there who are family that don't see each other enough, and they get in there, get in the heat and all that. Of course, that's going to happen. But then you leave Disney involved in it. You're like, okay, we got to like sweep this under and not let anybody know this really happened.
What's really funny is like one of the dudes in the video, he kept saying, you know, I'm not something like, I'm not afraid to go to jail. I'm not afraid to go to jail. And then afterwards, they all denied that it ever happened. And now the police, since they have the video, they're looking at it, so that he might be going to jail afterward. You know, after all. So,
well, he's not afraid to go to jail, so he'll be okay.
Exactly.
I mean, are you talking more to the point that they tried to cover it up, or just the fact that the fight happened, or both?
Oh, you know, and I saw John Talk's video about the cover up thus far.
Okay,
but I just I'm at the fight, like, you know, I don't know if you saw, but I did an edit where I took the fight and I put "When You Wish Upon a Star" over it.
Oh yes, that's perfect.
I was like, the one thing this fight was missing was a perfect soundtrack.
I think that Disney can be summed up by, and its hypocrisy can be summed up in one way. It's called the happiest place on earth. But where else in the world do you know that's so happy that you get to spend $100 to get your butt in the door? You have to wait in lines for 3 to 4 hours to even ride a ride. And all the food is overpriced. And then you have screaming kids all around you. If that's the happiest place on earth, I'm glad that I am miserable where I'm at.
Well, it's not just that, but now you have to pay. Not only do you have to pay to get into the park, you have to pay to get into Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
You have to pay for like over $100 to build a lightsaber. You know, I mean, it's just stupid. It's just, and you know, the thing with Galaxy's Edge, it would have been like a Star Wars fan dream if they would have actually incorporated all of Star Wars, and they would have let you like dress up as like a generic Jedi or something. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I understand. Go ahead.
People, they have a full size Falcon, which is awesome, you know, and you know, people who grew up with Star Wars, you know, it would be a dream come true if they could go on the Falcon in, you know, like a Han Solo outfit or as a, you know, dressed as a Jedi. Come on and start. They're not letting them do that, but they let people walk through the park with like freaking backpacks that could have all kinds of shit in it.
Well, okay. I mean, I will say this. I understand what they're trying to say by not letting people dress in cosplay for this. It's because that they're going to say they have their people there that are dressed up like that, and they want to be able to differentiate. You know what? You got ways of doing that. Anybody that comes into the park that's in cosplay, you give them a bright yellow band or something. You can fix that problem. I understand.
No. You give them a bright yellow leash. Because you're Disney's bitch.
Exactly.
But you see, that's the thing is that I can't sit there. And the more I read about this place, I'm like, you know, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, yes, I must go. And now I'm hearing about, you know, I got to pay extra, got to do this, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, no way in hell.
Apparently, the one that they're going to build in Orlando is going to be better, and it's definitely going to be bigger because the one in California is actually pretty small. From what
they just had to get that one going. They had to get this idea out there, and you know that's the problem though with Disney, especially. I mean, you see it in Solo, you see it in the way that they handle the Star Wars franchise right now is that they were going to do one a year. Well, that's really advantageous on their part, especially when you think that George Lucas, who wrote the damn thing, said, nope, I'm going to take 3 years on these and I'm going to do it that way. You know, so they're all about get it out there, get it out there. And then when it finally starts, they're like, oh, wait, we didn't think about this, and this. And then they just go and they start tweaking it and messing with it. And now it's already, from what I read, probably failing.
You can't treat Star Wars like a Marvel franchise. It's just not that type of animal.
I don't know. I disagree. I mean, you look at how many. I haven't read much of them at all, but look how many EU books there are. And I know books are different than film, but it's like they put these out all the time through the years because there was a market for it, and it's because it's like, well, movies aren't happening, so we'll slit your thirst with books, comics, and games, and board games. And maybe conventions and fan films that we allow. I think the Marvel formula could totally work for Star Wars if he made good shit, people want to see Star Wars every month if they can, something new, if it's good.
Maybe if it was not the Disney Star Wars, because Disney up to this point, they don't know how to handle the IP. They don't know how to write the stories, and they have such a vast catalog to draw from, from the EU. They could, incorporate a lot of those storylines, like fully incorporate them, and instead they're writing these original hack screenplays. I mean, no, pass. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's funny, going back to the Galaxy Edge thing really quick. One thing I'm looking forward to, hopefully, I want to see the nerd crew at Red Letter Media cover Galaxy's Edge. That'll put it on top, because I don't know if you saw, but when the Christian Harloff thing happened, they put out a video. It was just 2 minutes of Rich just laughing at it the whole time.
That's awesome.
How much money do they make from that too? Just them laughing. Like, I love their sarcasm, and they're always like very cool. But also with Galaxy's Edge, I'm most excited to dress as Jedi Knight Brie Larson.
Oh God!
How about y'all?
You know what? Honestly, Angus, I mean, after episode 9, I expect to pretty much write Star Wars off, so they can do whatever the hell they want, in future episodes of Star Wars. If Brie Larson's going to be a Jedi, I'm definitely not going to see that. But it just depends, because if the rumors are true that they brought Lucas in to really kind of write in like a backstory for the 30 years that we didn't see Luke, and they de-aged Mark Hamill, in these flashbacks, then maybe it will be like at least mediocre.
That's all I can hope for in this. And like I tell people is that there's so much now riding on this that we didn't see, that we needed before this, that now you're using the whole movie to do that. And now we're going to get like 30 minutes of a new movie and, 2.5 hours or 2 hours of the past. And that's just not going to work. I mean, the closer and closer we get to it, the less and less hopeful I am about it.
Yeah, it's funny for me, right after Celebration, with all the major things released, I'm like, the episode 9 is the thing I'm most excited about. Everything else, I'm kind of like, go fuck yourself. And it's because of this. With the sequel trilogy, I've already been exposed to 2 movies. The first one was like carbon copy, but I'm like, okay, soft reboot, I get it. Setting the foundation, getting people back on board with Star Wars, because people were bitches about the prequels and they don't get it, or they want to cry about it, whatever. Fine. I'm a huge prequel kid. That's why I like Star Wars, because they're prequels. So I'm like, fuck all these OT purists, but whatever. Watch that. I'm excited. I tell people all the time, like, my first real interest in YouTube, as far as just following, was Mike Zero, because he kept getting referenced by authors of articles as a source. So I'm like, this must be the legit dude, with all his insider info.
Mm-hmm.
Then Last Jedi happened, then everything fucking fell apart for his channel. Now he's pumping out 5 videos a day to like make up for his viewership.
Yeah.
I haven't checked it out in like a month or so, but
I try to stay away from a lot of the Star Wars talk. So when I see something that says, this could be happening, or if you believe this really, or if you believe this leak, this is going to happen. And I won't read those, because I don't want to know what happens. I do want to go into the movie like I went into the original trilogy. I was 3 months old when I went to the first one.
So you want to go into the movie in diapers?
I'd get. Hey, why not? Right? I mean, hey, it takes care of all the problems.
Go. I mean, go get you some Depends and relive your glory years, Chris.
No, but I want to go into them like I did as a child, and then the prequels like I did then. I want to go in with no knowledge of what they're going to show me. That way, at least I have an honest look at it. That was the way I went into The Last Jedi. And like I tell people, I went into The Last Jedi as a Star Wars fan and hopeful. So I, as a Star Wars fan, made a lot of concessions for it, because I could see how Luke could get there, but I do admit the problems that you don't have a backstory, that you don't have the training parts of it for Rey. That I admit to all of these problems, but I looked at it with the heart of a true Star Wars fan. I'm not saying that doesn't make you a Star Wars fan if you don't like the movie, but that's how I looked at it. So I made a lot of concessions.
Well, that just depends if who you're talking about. I mean, the SJWs, unless you absolutely love it,
exactly.
You're not.
I saw that thing posted about if you don't like The Last Jedi, it means you're sexist, and I so badly wanted to put on there. That's not true because I'm sexist and I like it. So what does that say? And then like Sean, what you did today, I thought that was hilarious because I saw that post on Twitter and I was like, what? Okay, obviously somebody says that, that you guys don't allow, people who like The Last Jedi into your ranks. And I'm like,
well, Sean says, they called us a cult.
Oh, okay. Tell him this.
I forget the guy's name, but he said that the Fandom Menace is a cult. They don't let anyone who likes The Last Jedi into their cult. And I was like, well, actually, there's a guy named Chris Knight, and he likes it, and the Fandom Menace pretty much accepts him. So I think I just blew your argument out of the water.
I loved it. I'm Sean's proof. I mean, that doesn't happen every day, but I liked that.
Going back really quick. With sequel trilogy, it's like, all right, after Last Jedi, with this whole push force diversity, seeing what they've done with with the force diversity. So I tell people is like, you try to tout that you're so diverse and stuff with your movies and your representation, yet the only events and decisions that matter for the story or the plot are done by white people, or Snoke, who is played by a white guy, and kind of stands in for the evil white patriarchy or whatever. Because they modeled him off of Hugh Hefner, which, God, I need to do a goddamn video about that because I love Playboy, because I like boobies. Good publication too. The guy who made Roots actually was an editor for
Hugh
Playboy.
Hefner was at my cousin's wedding, so. That was fun.
Well, it pisses me off that they think like, let's get toxic male, let's make fun of, let's channel Hugh Hefner as the bad guy. And it's like, you realize what he did for civil rights and for like the First Amendment.
Yeah.
So it's it shows you how stupid they are. But with the sequel trilogy, it's like I already know what I'm getting. I already know what to expect. I have no like lofty expectations anymore. I'm just sitting there like, what? How is he going to pull this off in one film? I'm interested. Just creatively, especially with JJ, with only being good creatively with kind of meddling with other people's works, like Cloverfield. Pretty much everything Cloverfield is, he gets in and he's like, like A Quiet Place is almost a Cloverfield film, to give you an idea of like what they do with that series. The 10 Cloverfield was its own movie, and then he's like, well, let's put it in this series just so it like gets more interest. And then you look at Fallen Order. I'm like, it looks fun. I'm not gonna lie, it looks fun like Force Unleashed, but something feels off about it. Feels like they're kind of hinting at this prequel era right after, begrudgingly. They've really jaded my fandom. Like, I buy everything prequel shit, and they've besides Darth Maul here and there, they've never serviced me, the fan, a prequel fan. They've said, oh, you don't matter. And now they're like, oh shit, we forgot they're like 25 plus, maybe I should pander to them and get their dollars. Too little too late. So you got that with Fallen Order, along with a white male lead having a black female master. And it's like, that could happen in Star Wars, that could happen in the prequels, but in this day and age, post Captain Marvel, I'm expecting it to have an angle. So I'm like, fuck that game. Until I hear the whole story, like, it never affected, maybe I'll buy it secondhand. What else? Clone Wars season 7, you have Ahsoka, her dialogue from season 5, again in a post Captain Marvel Disney era. It changes the context of her words, especially when you add another female saying, oh, those Jedi up on the surface starting their wars. And it's like, you don't get Star Wars. Oh my God. And what's the other thing? Mandalorian, I just don't have enough. I haven't looked into it. Don't really care. if I hear good stuff, maybe I'll ask someone for Disney Plus access. But
I am so afraid of everything they come out with now because I'm gun shy because they don't. And I think you and I have talked about this before because I think you've talked about having a lot of the old EU stuff. When Disney threw out the old EU and then they realized the problem they had by doing so, they started bringing in bits and pieces, but those bits and pieces talked against the pieces that they had in there already. And it's now a muddled mess where they have some of the stuff I like and then some of the stuff I'm like, yeah, and it becomes a problem. And Disney has taught me not to trust them with the product. So while everything I've seen and everything I hear about The Mandalorian looks really good, one problem, it's not Boba Fett. You're playing off my want of Boba Fett.
Yep.
And that really makes me wonder, why didn't you do Boba Fett?
They could have totally done like a prequel Boba Fett type thing, before the movie, and that would have been fine.
I want to see an Obi-Wan series, but then I hear they're not going, or not a series, but I want to see a movie, a straight point, but for point. Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I want to see that movie, but now I'm hearing they're talking more about maybe doing it as a series for their streaming service.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they need content, man.
But I'm sorry, that's not what I'm interested in. So I'm really gun shy when it comes to Disney.
Think honestly, I think they're a little afraid to after Solo to release, well, yeah, but especially like standalone Star Wars stories, like Solo, a Star Wars story, and Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and stuff like that. Although I think Obi-Wan with Ewan McGregor, I think that would probably make quite a bit of money just on Ewan McGregor alone.
Yeah.
Because it is a direct tie back to the prequels, and it ties it back to, the movies that George Lucas was a part of.
Yeah. And I'd love to see a Darth Vader one. The problem is I think that they needed to go for the surefire ones. Solo has a storyline that if you read the books before Disney got a hold of it, you already had an idea of where he came from, what he did. So if you don't follow that, if you change a lot of the rules in it and you change a lot of the story, people are going to be critical of it. That wasn't the only thing they were critical of. You sure as hell don't let a human fall in love with a robot. You just don't do that in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, that's the thing is Star Wars, yeah, it's sci-fi, and sci-fi has a lot of, you could call it bestiality, pansexuality, whatever, male or
some of it.
But what do you call it? Like human, android, droid, robot relations. That's very much in sci-fi, but Star Wars is kind of like, well, we play it safe in some of these angles. It's very much just a very simple universal story. It's the never-ending battle of good and evil in space.
I think the problem is that Disney has forgotten that this was originally designed not for children, but it was designed to not be serious necessarily. It was to take you away from the reality. And
that's why they said it in a galaxy, far, far away. It's to be completely detached from like any type of crap that's going on in the real world. It's supposed to be pure escapism, and Disney is interjecting it with real world crap.
Yeah. And so when they did the original trilogy, they had inclusion. There was inclusion. You had strong females, you had droids, you had, a hairy, tall guy, you had a guy in a black suit that was a white English dude voiced by a black actor. You had all this stuff. In the second movie, you had your main male bad, good bad guy, Han Solo, was friends with a black lead male who is also very much just a mirror image of what he was. And you had all the inclusion you needed, and they didn't try for it. They found good actors that could do parts, and that's how they did it. Nowadays, it's all about the political side of it. Yep. Shove what we can and shove it down their throats. It was not designed to do that. So kids back when we were growing up with the original trilogy, we just saw people, everybody was talking with everybody. There were bad guys, there were good guys, but it didn't matter who they were. it was kind of funny that George Lucas did pick out all English actors for the Empire, though. That was always hilarious. But it it was never what it is now. Now it's just, you can tell that they're just trying to shove stuff down your throat and make you just go with it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was talking with Red Gaze and some other people on a stream, and I was like, they've made it not just Star Wars with escapism, entertainment, where it's like a series that is established and white just because it's from England or America, which has a large white population. Sorry. And they'll cast more minorities or something. So like they've made it where anyone like normal minded that's aware of this shit, like me, a half black guy, I see, oh, there's a black guy in Star Wars. I'm just like, great, What was is he really the best choice, or was he just a diversity hire? So they it's weird, it's counterproductive. They make you dread your own representation because you're worried, you're sensing and dreading that it's disingenuous. Really quick, I'll give you a chance, both of y'all, to address that, but I want to address the chat. I've gone way longer than I normally.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Man of Sex, hail. I'm sure you're over at War Campaign chat, but you did say hi, so appreciate that. We'll see if you're in here later. But he is jizz nasty as always, as he says. We got the Senate saying, hail, bigots. See, it's a vase. Production saying, looking good, guys. Gotta go eat. I may be back. Well, please come back. I want your watch time. Lethal Lightning says, fuck yeah, let's push some buttons. Hoff Solo says, hey, fellas. And yeah, so quick little thing for everyone while I'm going through this chat. Hoff Solo lives up here in Columbus with me, not with me per se, but up here in this area with me. And Jesse Milestone and Jeff Hicks were here 4th of July. Jesse was here longer than that. Jeff left the next day. But I met both of them for 4th of July. Didn't have a chance to hang out with Jesse again. But there's a future day she might be coming back here that I can see her again. So that'd be cool. Got on with them great. It was really chill. Talked YouTube stuff, but it wasn't like really pointer type stuff like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? It was just chatting and went everywhere. Like, you listen to Jeff Hicks on a stream, it's the same shit as meeting him in person. Like, and that's great because that's me. I tell people like, yeah, you meet me off air or something, like I'm giving you about 80% of myself on stream. I just restrain enough to not dox myself and to not get censored by YouTube.
Right.
But yeah, it's very much me. So that was great. Hoff Solo bitched out for whatever reason. Haven't addressed that with him. What happened? I mean, if you had some, good pussy laying in bed, I get that. Or if you were just deathly sick. Otherwise, why the fuck weren't you there, dude?
He was He was intimidated by a strong woman like Jesse Milestone.
But yeah, I've hung out. Sorry. I've hung out with Hoff. We saw Massa and Cody together. It's funny because my wife couldn't go, and I was like, hey, Hoff, what are you doing X day? And he's like, I'm going to go see Massa and Cody. And I'm like, motherfucker. And he didn't know what that was, but it's like, damn it, because I got an extra ticket. So luckily there's one more friend I could ask to go and not waste the money. Yeah, we got Kermit the Log says, I'm here, and I'm queer. We got more Coil says, working and lurking. Tear it up, bigots. Hail, bigots assemble. Lethal Lightning again, just laughing. Michael Brent's here. Snowdub, music and entertainment. What's up, buddy? He says, coming on Angus stream, even though he refused to come on mine. Yeah, I was at work, so sorry, dude. Maybe you weren't. I was just hanging out with my kids. I'll check it out.
Work's a bitch,
Yeah. Well, I just started a plumbing job, and so like September's when I start school for the first year. But being a little guy in a totem pole, me and the other new guys, we're just digging holes in demo areas.
Would you say your job's kind of shitty?
No. I'm a plumber, not sanitation.
Oh, okay.
Chris knows all about plumbing.
Big difference.
Shut up.
See, Snow says, watching my dog lick his balls and Angus stream at the same time. Not sure which one is more exciting. Me neither. He said something about dog balls in a chat, and then he sent something totally different, and I was disappointed. I expected dog balls and did not receive them in the chat. We got Cinedave says, "What's up, my crackers? What's up?" And I think I'm close. Scroll down, make sure I'm not missing any good stuff. 19K Fox as well says, "What's up, kids?" Hell, man. I think Shellback's in here. Yep, got Shellback. Action figure expert. I think
I'll be right back.
And Superfan Adams. Okay, boom. Awesome. And Thomas Gilkey popped up. Hey, dude, what's up? I haven't seen you on Twitter or anything in a while.
Hey, Thomas.
I hope your vacation went well. Just hanging out with Real Reviews and Sean Stackhouse. Goombas. Do you mean turds? If so, no. Because, again, we do like plumbing, so we're doing main lines, not sanitation. If we see any of that shit come up, literally, yeah, we call in other people. We don't mess with that.
Maybe they're talking about the Super Mario Brother Goombas.
Oh, yeah, I hate Nintendo, so I had no idea what he was talking about.
Oh, how can you hate Nintendo, man?
Nintendo's for little bitch boys, in my opinion. It's like, oh, let's, like you look at the Nintendo lineup, and it's like gay shit for 10-year-olds and below. I want to see blood and gore. I know once in a while they'll have like an actual mature game, but they want to be pussies and only make stuff for, all ages, family. Like, go fuck yourself.
Well, can we at least agree that without Nintendo, we would not have come back after the video game crash of 1983 the way that we had?
I didn't even know there was a crash in 80. I didn't even know there was video games in 83, so
Oh, yeah.
huge surprise.
No, the Atari game E.T. caused the great video game crash of 1983. There's a documentary called Atari Game Over on Amazon Prime. It's all about it. And yeah, without Nintendo coming out in 85, video games may not be anywhere where they are now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was going to bring up the one thing when we talked about the forced, diversity, forced inclusion, and all that.
Yeah,
that the biggest red flag of them all right now is what they're doing with the Little Mermaid.
I wrote that down, dude. Yes, I was.
You just cannot. Okay, and you said it best, Angus. Okay, I mean, I'm white, you know that, and so here's the thing. I don't know for sure.
I thought you're just albino.
Shut up. I have no real clue on the actress's part how she feels, but if I were her, I'd sit there kind of questioning, why do I have this part?
Yeah.
Am I the best actress they could find, or do I fit a profile? And that alone right there would make me not want that job.
Yeah, okay, so this is, I had an argument with Albinos on Twitter. It wasn't really an argument per se. It was like difference of opinion. I was sort of defending someone that made a comment about the Little Mermaid, the Ariel stuff, in the tone read very racist. I get that, but I'm like, look at there's Twitter. I'm just going to assume the best of him until he proves me otherwise, and not jump down his throat, because then that's what SJWs do. And I also I grew up in Oklahoma. I was in the Army, conservative, but I'm bi and whatnot. So I got all this diversity within myself. But I've never gone through life and yeah, I'm aware. I see your skin. You're black. You're fucking Middle Eastern. You're Indian. Whatever. Like it's obvious. But really, all that matters is like your lineage and medical predisposition for like genetics and disease.
Sure.
That's all it really matters, because if there's a big difference, we wouldn't be able to mate like that with everyone across the world. So I view myself as American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, so like, because when you get into this allegiance off your race that they push today, that's stupid. Like Black Panther, where it's like, I'm going to weaponize black people. We're going to take back what's ours. It's like, well, you got black Muslims and black Christians in Africa. Two totally different ideologies that even if they team up, common enemy of, not blacks, at some point they're going to butt heads. And then you throw the wrench in of like, well, you got gay people who live in these areas who are black, and then you got American blacks who think differently, grew up differently than the Africans. And everything else, Haitians, you know, all these little factors that the black doesn't matter about it, you know.
And that's one thing that I've not to cut you off, Angus, but I mean, one thing that's always baffled me is that in America we call black people African Americans, but we don't call. I mean, they're not African Americans anywhere else in the world. You know, it just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I sort of get it, but it's like, I don't know. America's just been weird like that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We're supposed to be the melting pot.
Right.
And
We're also like one of the youngest countries in the world, so we're that awkward teenager still, where
yeah,
we
no, I
don't
agree
we
with
don't
that.
we don't know how to handle it. We're immersed in all this diversity, anyways. You got all these people here that are all the different colors, speak all the different languages, you know, different different sexual identities, whatever, and we're all just kind of walking around going like, okay, I don't want to step on your toes, but okay, so you're an African American, you know, or this or that.
Dude, people, I mean, toes are made to get stepped on.
Yeah,
It's an imperfect world.
Yes,
You know,
but the
if,
thing
if I
is,
step on your toes and it was an accident, I apologize. You know, if I step on your toes and I did it on purpose, it's because you're a dick.
possibly.
Yeah,
It just it's a thing where, you know, we are the awkward teenagers, so we're just trying to figure out how to ease that problem, I guess. I mean,
yeah, no, I agree. And so with Little Mermaid, and this is what I'm seeing, so I'm picking up, and I'll use two examples. They're like you. I'm not sure how much you follow politics. I don't follow it deeply, but I'm aware there was like a reparations council or talks or something at Congress. Like this is a thing that's getting closer to becoming a real thing. You two whiteys are going to have to pay me, or you know, through the government, like some sort of I don't know, deduction from your check or whatever. It's just they're gonna audit white people and be like, well, you've benefited from generational wealth, regardless if you're poor or not, if your family line has died out and you're like a bastard white name or whatever. You're white, you owe black people stuff because of slavery, because your ancestors that you had no control over. You had no control over like your immediate father and mother, what they did to put you in this world, and statues of. But yeah, this is kind of a real thing. And what I view as you know, like I said, a diverse person with my identifiers that are part of me, I see it as Little Mermaid, for example, a reparations tactic with our entertainment. It's
Yeah.
kind of like 1984, where the general idea is like, can you think of freedom if you don't know the word? All right, and so what's happening, in my view, is they're destroying white heroes.
Yes.
And you know, they have no problem casting Melissa McCarthy as the villain Ursula, Whitey. And you're going to see this. White guys will get cast as bad people.
It's going to be like it's going to be like Chris Hemsworth. If it's not a bad person, it's going to be like Chris Hemsworth in Ghostbusters 2016. They're going to be the idiot.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting weird. Yeah, that reminds me. I'll try to remember that. But so Moana, I remember when I was looking at, you know, funny feminist compilations of, you know, bitches getting owned on the media. There's like this. I'm not sure if she's American or English, but she looks like Middle Eastern descent, and she's like one of these famous media feminists, at least. And she's talking about how it's racist for white girls to wear Moana costumes, and it's like she's a Disney princess. Like little girls aren't thinking that. They're like, oh, I like this movie because it's like the hot thing at the moment when I'm a kid, or it's part of the collections. You know, 10 years from now, new kids will find Moana and be like, wow, I love Moana, because
Right.
that's
So I mean,
yeah. And so there's this thing there's this push of like, you can't wear that because you're not Polynesian.
but
And it's
yeah,
like,
we had no problem with you know, little girls of different racial background dressing up as Snow White or Cinderella
or Elsa recently.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, I think she's supposed to be like Scandinavian descent. And that's the thing, is like, it's one-sided. And same thing with Black Panther. They attacked Target for having a white kid wear Black Panther. I get it's like, I guess not the obvious marketing choice to go with, but it's like that's the whole point. Like a white Jew made Black Panther,
Right,
like,
and
it's
Stan
literally
Lee
for
would
everyone.
not. Stan Lee would not care. He would not like what's going on right now with his creations.
And I'm afraid that because he's dead now, you can see it more and more, and it's going to overtake what he made to include everybody.
Sorry, Darthy X. I'm going to get to the chat before this. So Darthy X just said, I can wear whatever I want because I'm a POC, a person of Caucasian. Love it. Love it. Let me see. Let me go up in the chat a minute ago. I got current talking. It's like, wait, he is white? Sorry for coffee. Superfan Adam Shaw says, race doesn't matter to me. We're all people first. Agreed. I mean, that's the whole point. Like, I'm an atheist. I value Christianity and what it does for people, but of course I don't believe in this stuff necessarily, but I see the value. I use some of the stories I grew up with as references still of like way to live. And with Jesus, he had the whole Samaritan woman, and that was like a time where it's like, whoa, not only just racial divides and culture, but Jewish people, Hebrews, what have you, they're labeled for that time, very standoffish with their customs and stuff, especially with Gentiles, which are everyone else.
Yep.
They're very isolationist and look down on everyone because they didn't follow their code. And then Jesus just goes and like, hey, give me some water, bitch. And everyone's like, oh my God, he's talking to a Samaritan and a woman. No, like, everyone's freaking out. And that's a little microcosm of like how we should treat people. It's like what does that matter,
Right. He didn't care about your background or what have you. I mean, he was open to everybody. So, I think, no matter what people believe, I think if you could just apply some of that into your life, maybe, things would be a little bit better in this world.
Yeah. Let me see. Where'd it go? Lethal Lightning says, I've always been a decent racist. I have long legs. Senna Dave says, my family wasn't here till 1898. Slavery was done by then. He might, your family might have been lucky and been able to make people sharecrop for them, but that was, regular trade for poor whites and blacks alike. Let me see. It's this whole stuff with like tearing down our heroes, established heroes that happen to be white. It kind of goes hand in hand. I said this shit. I didn't really tie it together perfectly, but with like, and somebody got triggered by it because they didn't really see the point. Maybe I didn't say it clearly enough, but they didn't see the point I was making with John Wayne and their attack on John Wayne with the Playboy interview. Is that they've already attacked history with the Confederate statues. Doesn't matter what you feel about those statues. That's our history. They've been there for like 100 years now.
Yep.
Out of nowhere, people start getting pissed about it enough to like make them get rid of them.
Well,
and if they're willing to remove history or try to skew history,
exactly,
they're going to be willing to try to skew our mythology and the actors that portray our mythos. If they don't have the right think 50 years later, they're going to try to scrub them out. Just like Hamill wants Donald Trump's star removed or someone else's star put on his star or some shit. Like, we're in this weird time where we're trying to, erase shit. Someone made the point like the pharaohs, when there's like a female, there's one special female pharaoh for sure that like for some reason she had a bad rap. They just graffitied all of her shit if it's preserved at all.
The history thing, I tried to explain it to some people like this. I said, what people won't understand is that when they were talking about taking the Confederate flags off of like gravestones and stuff, they were like, we're going to get rid of the Confederate flag. We're going to just make new gravestones.
That was technically the battle flag.
Well, okay, yeah, that's true.
Everyone knows it as Confederate flag.
Generally, whatever you want to call it. When they started talking about that, I asked several people, I'm like, well, do you know that there were black men who fought for the South? And the reason why they fought for the South is because they were afraid that if they didn't, that they would actually be in a worse situation than what they may have already been in. And I said, there were people who died fighting for the South that by taking that off, they died for that ideal. Now, whether or not you want to agree with that, they did make that decision on their own. They weren't forced to, because lots of them did leave. Lots of them didn't fight. But I think the problem here is that when you're talking history, when you try to erase it, you're doomed to repeat it. And so much of the time, you're just not understanding that if you don't like that, then teach your kids as you walk by that statue. That guy, wasn't a great guy or whatever. Don't let them tell you he was a great guy, but don't sit there and try to fight to have the thing removed. I mean, because if that's the case, if we're doing it because of slavery or whatever, then the Washington Monument has to come down. The Jefferson Monument has to come down. All these monuments have to come down.
Humans need constant visual reminders of the horrendous things that we've done in the past. Otherwise, with our short attention spans in this digital age, we're just gonna be like, oh, hey, concentration camps. That sounds like a really good idea. Let's try that.
It'll help them concentrate.
Well,
dumb joke.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just I'm afraid that after tearing down all these monuments and stuff, that we're just going to, because history books are completely abridged and bastardized. We're not being taught the real history.
Yeah, the victor goes the victor goes the spoils. So it's like,
right.
when you dictate what stories are told, and very rarely is a society going to sugarcoat or not sugarcoat. Very rarely will they not sugarcoat their history to some degree.
What's funny is the best point to make on that is in our classes we teach the American Revolution for 2-3 weeks, a month, whatever. They go through a whole long spiel about that. When you get to the War of 1812, it's like a day. That's because we got our asses handed to us in the War of 1812. And the only reason why we still kept our freedom was because Britain pretty much said, we're done playing with you, and left. And they don't talk about that really. They kind of make it sound like, and I remember going through class in this, they kind of make it sound like we just kind of had a draw. It was close. No, we got our asses handed to us. and that is very much like you said, to the victors goes the spoils. And if it isn't the way you want it, then you just kind of wash it over and push it over to the side. Yeah, we're not going to talk about this.
Yep. And it's that way in every country, I'm sure. But, definitely in America.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a joke. Current log says, I'm assuming he's trying to say, I just graduated from San Fran State. They teach that Abraham Lincoln was actually a trans man.
What?
I'm hoping he's joking, but it's California, and
oh, God.
There's one video I did that was like, kind of out of left field, but it was, I think, needed to be addressed. And I'm like, how is no one else talking about this? Because there's footage of this to back it up, so it's not just crazies, out of their mind, right wing, Christian wackos, covering like the pedophile shit being taught at California schools as orientation. And why that's a big problem is EEO hiring people. You can't discriminate on orientation. So it's like, this is the way in, is pedophilia is an orientation. Why are you discriminating? But yeah, they have this whole like trying to teach like gay history, and you see articles are trying to skew history. It's like, oh, there's so many gay pilgrims that came for freedom to America. And it's like, dude, those would be considered witches that would get fucking slaughtered. Worse than the witches, actually, because that's where like the derogatory term faggot comes from initially, is bundle of sticks.
Yep.
Well, gays were not worthy of the witches being burnt with bundles of sticks. So it's so loopy that they try to like make up shit just to go along with their narrative. And I'm not saying narrative like as a negative with like being gay or whatever, because I'm bi. But you see there's this whole push of like, instead of tolerance, like what the 60s hippies are all about, like, dude, just let me live my life, man. Those people had an influence on America in a good way, I would say, to some extent, opening different avenues of thought and whatever, and tearing down censorship in certain ways, both on film and whatnot, and just person to person. But the detriment is that they never instilled strong will to be like, hey, fly your freak flag, dude. But no one's going to like it, and everyone's going to think you're fucking weird. no one ever got that second half of the message. And so now everyone is been that's benefited from that push is now like up in arms because they can't deal with the criticism or people tolerating them and not wanting any part to do with them.
Yeah.
Oh dear God.
Oh, just on
Okay.
that.
Well, I just found something about Boston University, and the title of the article is LGBTQ figures from Lincoln to Mr. Sulu. The first thing, okay, so Abraham Lincoln, 1809 to 1865.
Wait. I'm just the way you read it. I was thinking Abraham Lincoln, trans vampire slayer.
As a young man, Lincoln shared a double bed with Joshua Fry Speed, ostensibly because he couldn't afford a bed of his own. Such arrangements were common on the frontier, but Lincoln made a home with Speed for 4 years, even after both men were financially independent. Although some historians doubt that Lincoln was gay, Prager writes, "There's no way to know if Abraham and Joshua's love was or wasn't sexual."
It's called a roommate.
These people are just grasping at straws. You know what? Don't make up history. If you don't know, don't talk about it.
Right. Because it's just speculation. That's all it is.
Dude, yeah, it's funny. I can't remember what it was I was trying to do research on. Looking at a lot of libtard like HuffPo and stuff type of news, quote unquote news sites. I want to say it was from them. There was an article where it's like Jesus, the first trans prophet or something like that. Like, what? Me being ex-Christian, there's just lines I don't cross, and I'm like, whoa, guy.
Yeah.
Please say this about Muhammad. Like,
yeah.
Just,
oh.
They don't have the balls to say that about Muhammad, man. Christians are an easy target, man. We get it from all angles, and nobody says shit. But as soon as Muhammad is insulted, oh, people chop off heads.
Yeah, it's funny. I always think, especially doing research about like, there's a being for just denomination of Catholicism, especially with their age and stuff. Just in the last 500 years, there's been so many Catholic scientists. Mendel was the father of genetics. I think the guy who figured out essentially the Big Bang Theory was a Catholic astrophysicist or astronomer. There's been a lot of crazy stuff with like the arts, science, medicine, etc. And there's this huge attack against Christendom, probably just because it's been localized in West Europe for the most part. Well, Europe in general. So it's white, despite its origin of, and being an idea that goes all over the world, I don't think of Hinduism necessarily as like, oh, it's just an Indian thing. It's like, no, it's an ideal that anyone could buy into. It's very much contained in India. There's a difference. And I don't get it. I don't get the negativity to Christendom that has, like, without it, would the founding fathers be as lenient and be as forthcoming with tolerant ideals?
I don't think so.
Or if they were just a different denomination, if they were like Puritans, like the Puritans are here, they kind of liberalized, I would say, over time, very slowly. But as the founding fathers were different than the Puritans.
But they still all pretty much shared the core beliefs, for the most part. So
yeah, like democracy has been facilitated by Judeo-Christian societies, as opposed to theocracies and tyrannies have been facilitated in most part by how would I say it? Not that all tyrannies are Islamic, but most of the governments within Islamic countries have been always theocratic, if not tyrannical.
Yes.
And so I think that at some point when you have a huge track record, that starts to reflect on you. And so you see, you might not like certain parts of Christendom, but it's what's giving you America, where you can complain about everything of America. Or it's like other countries, it's like you might get put in jail or killed for that.
Exactly.
Burning your own country's flag is protected by your country's laws. Where else do you hear about that?
Yeah, nowhere. That's punishable by death in many countries.
Yeah, it's and they're like, I got this argument. Someone was attacking Mike Miller, the comic artist. I'm not a fan of Mike Miller. I think I won't call him a bigot, but he definitely lends himself to getting called that with some of his rhetoric, and I understand it. I understand his very hard right Christian views, and I'll not allow it. I'm not going to stop him, but it's like, okay, I can make peace with that. But he's getting hammered unnecessarily about like race and stuff, and they're talking about like the Egyptians were black and this and that, and it's like, well, there's DNA tests, and they're like, oh, those DNA tests made by white people, and it's like, what? They just kept on, and they're talking about slavery, and now we're going to get ours, and it's like, you're talking about Egypt, like you realize Egypt built the pyramids with slaves, right? Like,
Right.
slavery's happened all over the place. Like St. Patrick, a white man, generally speaking, Roman slave, like. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like you realize, sure, there's been people in this country, even the founding fathers who were great, had slaves because they're part of their time as well, despite being revolutionaries. But also white men helped free slaves and helped enact civil rights movement and stuff. It's like there's no like binding your race to an ideal, as opposed to like, oh, sickle cell. Yeah. You probably have black in your line somewhere,
Well,
big difference.
I heard something about, things the founding fathers never, that you either didn't know or they never heard. One of the things that they never heard was founding fathers. That was not a term that was used until like the 1830s or something like that. And then the other thing I heard was that Thomas Jefferson's first draft of the Declaration of Independence actually had something where they abolished slavery, and it didn't make it in the final draft. But that there's things like that that people don't know about, and they don't read about, and they don't understand that it was. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that it was a product of their time. Well, my neighbor has slaves. Look at his crops; they're growing great. He's able to collect his crops efficiently, and all this is happening. You see that, and you're like, well, I've got all of these fields. I need to grow my own crops. I need to do this too. Well, I'm going to have slaves, because it's like having a TV back then. My neighbor has a TV. I want a TV. Well,
now we're slaves to our TVs.
But
I'm thinking it's like, you're sitting on the porch, your neighbor drives by in his carriage, and you see in the back, in a box, wow, the latest from Maytag. Wow, you got the top of the line slave. It's like, damn it. It's like what is it? Oh, not Heifels and McCoys. Keeping Up with the Joneses. The damn Joneses and their Maytag slaves. Like, give me funny scenarios in my head. Like a key.
Look at this. Hey, look, the Johnsons. They got a new slave. Oh my God, it could do the laundry and cook. Oh crap!
So you see all the secondhand slaves sitting on the curb, ready for the trash man.
Oh God. Oh, this is getting problematic, my guys. I'm having a good time. This is hilarious, actually.
But no, I mean, it was a thing that if your neighbor had this going on, and you saw it, you kind of wanted to figure it out for yourself. And again, we all know that that's gone by the wayside. This is something that we don't do anymore. It's not an accepted form of the way to treat somebody. We all understand that. We evolve. We figured it out on our own. But in today's society, no, you don't know what you should want. You don't know how to include people. You're a bigot. And God, we're going to tell you how to do it. We're going to show you that you have to be inclusive. And of course, that's going to create backlash.
Yeah, it's funny. Just going back to the slave theory really quick with the Declaration or not the Constitution, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They had it, and by the time America became a country, officially, I would say what 1786, I think, something like that. There was a good like decade plus where it's like we were in a weird flux and money was weird and
We considered ourselves a nation starting in 1776. It probably wasn't anything official across the world until about 10 years later, 1786 or so, probably.
yeah. From what I understand,
we didn't
they
have nuclear weapons yet, so we weren't recognized as a country.
so from what I understand, it was like they had a law they put in place where it's like 1800 was like no more. We'll delay it till then. 1800, no more importing slaves from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's supposed to be the Caribbean as well. No importation. You just had to grow your own slaves to limit. It was to limit the market, and it was a progressive move without just upheaving the whole society.
Make your little changes here and there.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like everything about America and our politics, and I would say politics in general, is all about stepping stones. Because it starts simple, and it's like, oh well, let's equate the vote, but then it's like, well, let's make sure people aren't double voting, and then you start adding these little stipulations and stuff as you start to see problems with what's in place at the time. And so that's the thing, is like no one even knows about that, where it's like, yeah, they had little measures, or it's like, but it was ignored, and people just kept importing slaves till like I would say right to the last minute, really. But yeah, it's like those mean old white men. Even Thomas Jefferson had slaves and stuff. Like they were aware of trying to change stuff. They were aware of their limitations. And I just think this whole trying to indict people for like wrong thinking stuff, and history and scrubbing everything and get with the times or wrong side of history, all this weirdo stuff. It's isolating people. I think maybe that's the point. It's like a fear-mongering tactic, maybe, to get you on board with one political side or the other. May just be orchestrated to divide us, like some Palpatine in the background. I don't know, but it's definitely annoying. It's definitely scary being a father. And I know you're a dad, right, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And yeah, it's just I look at everything right now, and it's, I don't know. I don't like how it is. I want my kids to grow up in a world where, yes, they can learn about this stuff, but they do it of their own accord, not because of movies telling them to do it, or not because of politicians telling them to do it. That's not how you learn about this stuff. You learn it by experiencing or by being around it. And yeah, forcing you to learn it will make it go one of two ways. You'll go way too far with it and buy into everything that you're told, or you will go completely against it. And that's the problem with the way things are right now.
Yeah. No, I was just laughing earlier. Lethal and Carter, they're saying we're all trans, and that Abe Lincoln cut his dick off.
Well, after so many of his kids died, of course you would too.
Yeah, so I was wondering, going back a little bit, Disney, Mulan. There we go.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Mulan? I know Sean's done a reaction. I think he did a second or whatever, just because copyright or something, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, just want to get y'all's take on Mulan going forward and what you think with this film.
Well, I mean, I think the movie looks pretty breathtaking as far as the visuals go, but I mean, I'm just not on board with the rehashing of their Disney classics. I mean, it's probably going to make money, but I mean, Mulan was much more than just the story, at least the Disney version, and but they're having to walk this fine line between Eastern and Western with the live action, because China is a big box office now, and it wasn't when Mulan was first released. And so the songs are probably going to play more of a backing type of thing. They're not. I don't think we're going to see them break out in song in this movie. And
God,
yeah, but I mean, But in all honesty, if Disney really wanted to do something and make live action stuff, man, they could tap into the Disney afternoon block that ran for years. We could have DuckTales, we could have Rescue Rangers, we could have Tailspin. There's things. They're recycling their stuff because they don't have any new ideas, and I think it's sad.
I think it's part of the no new ideas, kind of, but part of me just wonders if Disney just doesn't think we're stupid enough to buy it. I think part of it is they go like, well, hell, we've got like 40 animated movies. Let's go back and do every one of them in live action. Hell, we're set for the next 15 years. We don't have to do anything. Look at this.
Didn't it start with the Sorcerer's Apprentice, technically? I know.
No, they took that.
Cinderella was the first.
Yeah, Cinderella.
Or Pete's Dragon.
It's something. No, I think it was Cinderella.
I mean, but the Nicolas Cage movie came out before Cinderella.
Well, yeah, I guess it sort of is, but it's so detached from what this story. So
that's a part of a movie, and I think that was the first problem. I mean, and honestly, that movie alone probably gets a pass because at least they tried to take a part and expand it.
Yes,
so that's a little different than a remake.
Yeah, with Mulan for me, I wasn't really thinking of the Chinese thing, but I said before, I'm like, I have all these remakes, like, oh, what would you anticipate? Mulan being greenlit at the time, before like ever a trailer or any casting I knew of, I was like, that could be cool because they could actually go really different and actually really show like Chinese culture of the historical period and stuff. That'd be really cool. I was down for that. And seeing the trailer, it has that look, it has that feel visually, but it feels fucking flat.
Yes.
And I would say if it didn't say Mulan, if I didn't know it's Disney, I would just think it's a big budget Chinese film.
Yeah, see, I haven't watched the trailer yet. I plan on doing a reaction to it, but I've kind of followed all this stuff because I am currently working on a piece about the reboot, remake craze that we're in. I'm with you guys that if you can show more of the culture and if you can really focus and zoom in on that and not make it, I don't know. Disney's always had a way of just washing over whatever they're taking, because every one of these old animated films, not everyone, but a lot of them, were based off of old fairy tales on old stories, and they changed them to, back even then, not push an agenda, but to put their voice out there. So they changed the endings to a lot of things. They weren't as dark. There weren't as adult themes as some of these old fairy tales talked about. And as they went along, they took stories and true people and appropriated them and made them what they wanted. Pocahontas, for instance, that movie's nowhere near the truth. And
no,
and those
to be honest, I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 is more true to the Japanese culture than Mulan's going to be to Chinese culture.
I don't think, and honestly, the more they try to make this show Chinese culture, Sean makes a good point with the Chinese market as big as it is, and the fact that they do let Western movies in more now. If they try to show Chinese culture and it does not truthfully show Chinese culture the way that Chinese want it to be shown, it'll kill this movie. So I don't buy that Disney's so brazen to believe that they can do that. I think it'll be very washed out. It'll look pretty. There's no way it won't look pretty. I mean, Disney's great at visually showing you things. Disney
the story, they're shallow.
Yeah, story, and more that it gets shallower and shallower, and that's a cancer going across Hollywood in general.
I mean, let's just look at like let's just take Endgame really quick. Endgame visually stunning, but story wise, I mean, after I saw it a few times, the story wasn't really all of that, you know?
The story is they're trying to flip what happened around, and that's the only story there is. There's
Yeah.
nothing moving it along. It's just literally it's 3 hours of you seeing we know we have to do this and them doing it, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree, but I think a movie like that or Infinity War before, I think you have to view them different than normal because that's an event film. Like,
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm not saying it's not a good
say
flick. It's
episode
just
5 is like, well, it's like, you know, Infinity War and Endgame are like the biggest events, especially with villains, since the twist of Empire, where no one really saw shit like that happen. But that was just part of a story. And it had its own kind of story in the middle where you can jump into 5 and you kind of get like the setting, you get the characters, boom. Same with Dark Knight. It's a good just solo part of a trilogy. Endgame, though, it's like the finale for this villain. So like everything's built up, the story's all been told. Now it's just the events happen of the villain. Let's reverse it, and it's like you don't need more. It's just like you're tying the bow on a lot of characters.
Yes and no, though, because let's say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe started in the late 80s, okay? We're dealing with more practical effects than anything else. So if Endgame happened in 1991, 1992, they would have had to focus more heavily on the script than on the graphics because the graphics just would not have come across. You know, they would have had to express things through.
But I think that's why you didn't have those movies back then.
Yes,
I'm
just saying. I'm saying that I think because CGI is so good, I think writers are getting lazy.
Well, I think that's part of it.
They can tell this. They can tell the story visually, and you know they don't have to actually write the. You know,
there are several things plaguing movies right now. One, it is the visual abilities now. I don't have to write a story if I don't want to. I can show you the story. And it works for a lot of people. But those of us that want some depth to it, it doesn't work for. The second thing is you don't have the actors developing. And I said this on I think I said this on Lee's stream the other day. I can't remember.
There is no Lee, only Zod.
It's Lee. Whatever. My ego won't let me call him that. I said it basically like this. It used to be that once an actor found a groove or a couple genres they worked really well in, that's how they were put in it. And Jim Carrey, we were talking about The Mask. So Jim Carrey had a shtick, but he could do dramatic work. So he did one of two things. He did very obscure dramatic roles or he did comedy. But that's how he blossomed into the actor that he became. And yeah, I know it. People think he's crazy, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how he got to be the highest paid actor for like 3 years straight. How Tom Hanks got to be the highest paid actor for 3-4 years. You know, Tom Hanks started out in comedy, and then somebody said, "Let's put him in something a little more dramatic," and he hit it on the nail. And like, wow, look at this. So he was able to expand. Nowadays, we look for actors that fit a type or a demographic. And we throw them in a movie that maybe they can't even act that type of movie out. They're just thrown in it. So they don't have a chance to actually become an actor, become what they should become, because we're not putting them in the right movies. And that's and then you don't get the right writing. You don't. So Hollywood's really screwed up right now because they're looking more for what looks right. So race, creed, religion, whatever, somebody that fits a look, but then we have some shoddy writing. And so this person can't even act their way out of a wet paper bag right now because we're not really looking for what they're good at acting. So we may have a ton of really talented actors and actresses out there right now, but we don't know that because we're not really trying to put them in the right movie. We're not trying to give them the right script.
Yeah, I'm going to have to butt in. I'm going to address the chat, and then I'll give you all time to pitch, but I do gotta go to bed soon. So Shellback, this is back during our way back when we were talking about slavery,
Mhm.
he says, "You heard it here, folks. Chris says slaves are appliances." And then Dorothy Hicks replies, "Antique farm equipment. Don't be a bigot." Uh,
Wow.
Awesome.
that was hilarious. And then Schellbeck asked the Senate, "Are you made by Maytag?" Uh, I saw somewhere earlier he said Kermit the Log says, "I'm so anti-trans, I hate the Transformers."
Oh man.
Oh, that was
You have a
good.
great chat going here, really.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, and Senate just informed me. I saw the update from D-Day, I think D-Day Cobra's channel, which is Jeremy's channel.
Mhm.
Rabies at Disneyland. So that's
Mhm.
awesome. Um, Let me see. Really quick, one thing I was going to add with the Mulan. A film I want to see that's not on the slate, but one I would love to see from Disney just expand and build on is Hercules. I didn't know this, but apparently Hercules was a flop. I need to look into its budget and its box office. Apparently it was a flop or a dud, whatever.
It didn't
Don't
do
know
as well as the after the afternoon cartoon they did. The
But it had a
cartoon,
Michael Bolton song.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it didn't do as well as a lot of their stuff does. Dud, I don't know about that because it's still Disney. Disney, the name behind the movie, will guarantee it'll break even.
Solo didn't break even.
Well, that's true, but that's more of a Lucasfilm thing,
It's
and I,
still Disney.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I really love Hercules, especially James Woods' voice.
Mhm.
The Hydra scene, man, that was one of my favorite things to reenact by myself as a kid. Was Lion King, the whole trench run and shit in the Lion King, and Mufasa death, and all the cool, just the monster fights in Hercules, especially the Hydra. Cerberus was cool. They didn't give him enough. The show always pissed me off because there's always wimpy ass Hercules.
Mhm.
And I hated that shit. I want fucking. That's the thing, dude. When you're a kid and you're a male, you want to see big ass strong dudes. You want to see little dweebs. Once you get older, you watch Revenge of the Nerds and appreciate it. But you
Mhm.
want to see that shit when you're a kid. It's like I see this shit. I didn't think about this. We'll have to talk about this later. I might get you on again. Talk about this stuff. But
Sure.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'm seeing this shit in like my wimpy brother-in-law. He's like 12 and he's kind of a loser, I would say. Various circumstances why. Part of it, I think, is like just inherent social skills he'll never get because of how he's growing and stuff. And it's not me crapping on it, it's just like my observation, being aware. And it's just like, wait, like Diary of like, you want to read the shit? You want to read about losers? Like, I don't get it, like the whole fantasy, like Peter Parker, is that he's a dweeb, he's a dork, but he gets these powers, and now he can turn the tables. But he has to, kind of like Superman, he has to check himself
Yep.
because his morals. He's a good guy, so I don't get it. They've totally fucked. It's like it's cool once in a while, or if it's more mature. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier a week or two ago, Chris, about Thanos and that type of storytelling. That when you cross that into kids' interests, you're skewing the lines. You need to tell very clear lines. You need to show men being men, women being women. Yeah, I was gonna say something
You
about
give
like, yeah, confusing.
you give Thanos a real reason why he's doing it, so you can kind of think, well, we're being told he's the bad guy, but is he? It that skewed reality that it's kind of that gray area. Giving that to kids without defining it makes it really difficult for them sometimes.
Yeah. Cool. So lastly, we got uh stupid Kermit. We'll talk later in the chat. But crap, where'd he go? Oh, Comic Book Bob, good friend. He's a comic skater. He crossed 100 subs recently. And he says, dropped in to hit that like button. Got to hit the gym. Take care, guys. Yeah, go sub to him if you love Comicsgate, if you love learning about stuff, you like film reviews and stuff as well. He does streams. I haven't had the chance to catch one yet. I need to start going back. Especially, I figured out what I need to do at work is download streams. Like I watched the High Council today, and I put the phone in my hard hat for the echo.
Mhm.
And so I'm randomly, I'm shoveling, and then I just randomly just bust out laughing, and they're like, and so they do it as well, listen to stuff, but they don't listen to funny shit like our Pie Lord Ethan Van Skyver. So yeah, last thing I want to get y'all. Kind of did this weird and just went at it from the get go, but I think a lot of people in the chat know y'all already. You're already established. We've interacted a few times here and there and on Twitter and whatnot. But give y'all the proper pitch. Tell us about your individual channels. I know this is for the Real Review 3000 that you both manage together, but it's sort of Chris's channel by itself. And you got Sean Stackhouse. Let's hear about both of y'all before we go out.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right. Yeah, I run Sean Stackhouse Reacts. And it's pop culture, comic book, music, basically, and a lot of Queen. Queen seems to be like some of my most popular videos. But yeah, if you want to come by and check it out, give us a subscription if you like it, and comment and like. I posted a video yesterday about a teacher or principal actually being reassigned because he can't say for a fact that the Holocaust actually existed. And I had an opinion about how he was reassigned and not fired. So go check that out if you're so inclined. And for the more boring stuff, go check out Chris.
No, whatever. No, we've got lots of good stuff, and Sean's just saying that, but Sean's also over here helping out with stuff on the Real Review 3000. But
Chris would not know how to edit a video unless I showed him how to do it.
That's true. I'll admit to that. But then again, I like the way he edited stuff. But we have two totally different editing styles. That's for sure. Mine's of course better and more dramatic. I like that. And plus, I write all the cool stuff that you see us do. I write a lot of those scripts. So just so you know, if it's funny, it came from me. Yeah. So, anyways, I say we're ADHD for YouTube because a lot like Sean's channel, we do movies, music, not parodies per se, but definite satire. I like doing satire. We got one coming out here before too long that is about Hollywood being dried up and not having any new ideas. We got that coming up. And so anyways, we're working on a lot of new stuff. I think Sean and I are both trying to ramp up our content on our channels, get it out there more often on a schedule, trying to do that. I know he needs to hit the 4,000 hours. He's close to that.
Yeah, I'm like halfway over 3K right now.
If we could split the channels and like have one channel with both his subs and my hours, the Real Review 3000 has over 4,000 watch hours, but we have only about 222, 223 subs. So we're at the point right now where we're trying to get subs. We're asking if you like our stuff, tell people that are like the same stuff you do about it. It's the same thing for Sean's channel. We're both really interactive in each other's channels. I've done stuff over there. He does, he helps me out here. So we're trying to, get this going over here at the Real Review before they change the monetization rules. And that's my big thing right now. My big push is trying to make sure that I have content that's new for people and that, we're on a roll here. So we're really ramping stuff up over here at the Real Review 3000. And I appreciate every one of the subs we've gotten so far, but I'm always hoping for more. And I'm always hoping we expand that group out to people with like minds. And, they can come over here. And like I said, they can see all sorts of different stuff. So that's my pitch for it.
Yeah. Awesome. No, it's great having y'all. Like normally I would go longer, but War Campaign started earlier, and I know Mary's streaming, so I was trying to find if I start later, that'll accommodate better than if I start ahead of her, because there's got to be a lot of subs that or cross between both our channels.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, one thing I was going to say, not going to leave it to y'all to address. What anyone wants to discuss it, we can start a thread on my Twitter at Angus Reviews. So this just came out from IndieWire. There's an article from regarding Terminator: Dark Fate. Tim Miller, the director, says, if you're a closet misogynist, she'll scare the fuck out of you regarding the new female Terminator. Which actually, the female Terminator, I was like, I don't know, people were complaining about her look. I looked up who it is. She's actually, like, I'm assuming a hooker briefly in Blade Runner 2049. Pretty girl. They made her. She's got a face still, but they made her very unsexually appealing in any form.
Yep.
Unfortunately. But yeah, we can discuss that on there on my Twitter. Friday, I'll come back, do the pre-Senate. Last week was my anniversary. I didn't forget my anniversary, but I did forget during the day after I text my wife, happy anniversary, because I started work, and I got distracted, like, oh, I got to get my chat set up to do the stream, fuck. And I come home, and it's like, wait a minute, what's the day?
What am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting something.
Because I had a long day at work because I literally got like 2 hours of sleep. Because the night before 4th of July, I met Jeff Hicks and Jesse Milestone. So, yeah. So it was like sleep lost. That was worth it, but it was like, tired. I acknowledged the day, but then I just got distracted. So that's why last minute we didn't do the pre-Senate last week. That'll be back Friday. And Saturday morning, 3 a.m. EST, 12 a.m. Pacific. You're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? I'm having a charity stream for Ollie. It's hashtag for Ollie. I'm not sure how many of you watched. I covered it. Of course, EVS is the one that I was inspired by seeing this. Had the hardest time getting through his video talking about this shit because it just hit me the wrong way. And it took me a while to get through doing the research to make the video. There's the child, Ollie Jones. He died at 4 of leukodystrophy, which is a degenerative disease of the white matter of the brain. And his father wanted a Spider-Man tombstone for him.
Oh, yeah.
Right. All right. So I actually found the father and talked with them. I set up a Teespring line, hashtag for Ollie. 100% of the profits, and I say profits because there's all the fees and the cut that Teespring takes. Everything after that, every bit of money I'll get will go to leukodystrophy. It'll go to I think a Holland-based research because Lloyd, his daughter as well, has it currently, but he's been following this doctor. He thinks she's close to a cure, so I'm respecting him, donating all the proceeds we get to I think the Holland-based research. So if the site you go to, you're like, "Oh, it's in euros." Like, yeah, it's in Holland. Just use your little converter on Google. But that's going to be going on at 3 a.m. We're going to have hopefully the father Lloyd Jones, Rookie Critics. He'll come. Of course, it's only 12 over there. Jesse Milestone might come. I'll see if Nerdrotic, Doomcock. I'm going to try to get Biggs on there with me to get the biggest pull and hang out with Lloyd at least for a time. Talk about leukodystrophy. Talk about the current state of his daughter. What he knows about the research going on, how close they are to a cure, and reminisce about Spider-Man and stuff. We might crap on Disney a little bit here and there and get the details regarding why exactly, because I think it's partially to do like English stuff, the way they handle burials compared to America. People are like, oh, just do it already. It's like, yeah, I don't think it works like that in England. We'll try to address all that. But hopefully be a good time to and something that Lloyd remembers as like, wow, these people that didn't know me, I became friends with them, at least through spirit, through YouTube, because of this tragedy, made something good out of it. So coming on by, at least go to the site later on the description after it's done and donate or get a hashtag for Ollie shirt or sticker, and go sub to
you're 100%.
Go sub to Chris and Sean's channels, and have a good night. Thanks for coming. Look forward to seeing you on Friday and Saturday.
Put this on here. It's heavy.